Everyone. Thank you for tuning in for another episode here at the podcast. Today we have a very special guest with us today. Do you mind introducing yourself?
I don't know if I'm that special, but I'm Tyler Mack, councilman from the 131st District. Proud father, proud family man, and just looking to make do my part in helping and work to get Bridgeport on the right track.
Okay, that's good. So how long have you been a councilman?
Since December. So I was elected in November, and we started December 2021. So it's been a short run, but a fun one.
Okay, so how has your time been so far as a councilman? Has it been what you thought it would be?
Yeah, it's definitely what I thought it would be, because the thing about legislating is you have to make partnerships and you have to have a clear vision of what you need done. And so basically I make sure that I work with the other council members in the executive branch, which is the mayor's office, and we work together to find solutions to common issues. Is it easy? No. There's a lot of red tape that may be in some legislation. There's a lot of legal stuff that we have to balance and figure out. But at the end of the day, I mean, we all have the same common goal, which is to make Bridgeport a better place. So it's definitely what I thought it would be, and it's also fun for me.
Okay. So when you decided to run for or seek office for a council rep, what was that platform that you ran on?
So I really ran on transparency and actually finding solutions, because I'm very big on getting the job done. That's very key to me. I don't like to just complain and say we need to do something. If you're in elected office, you should be doing something. And I know that people are frustrated with the governing structures, not just locally, but nationally as well. So to give people that voice and to give people the chance to say that, oh, the government is actually doing something. Our government is actually trying to find solutions. That's what I'm trying to do, and that's what I bring to the table. One of my catchphrases was that people should invest in the community so the community can invest back into people. So I'm very big on that, and I'm very big on the government playing that role and doing right by its people.
So why was it important to run on that platform for you?
It was important for me because the people needed something different. Growing up, the constant narrative was that the Bridgeport politics is corrupt and our government doesn't do anything and it doesn't help our people. So to give that change, and it's not just pointing fingers, it's actually being the change that you're looking for. So that's why it was important for me to run. And I mean, after I announced my candidacy, a lot of people called me up and they were just like how inspirational it was, because a lot of people remember me from back in the day saying that, oh, I'm gonna run and I'm gonna be the change that we're looking for. So to actually see that dream turn and materialize into something, I think it's important for our community. And it's important to keep going too. It's not just, okay, I'm elected, now let me rest on my laurels. It's to continue to build and to create ordinances and laws and budget correctly and actually give the residents something to feel that the government is doing.
Okay, and as a city council rep, what committee do you sit on?
I chair Miscellaneous Matters with Amy Marie Vizzo-Panicia. I'm also on the Budget Committee, and I'm on the Environmental and Economic Development Committee.
Okay, can you tell us in just some small detail how does these committees benefit the community?
So at the end of the day, it's the governing structure for our local city. So when we pass ordinances, for instance, it has a direct effect on us. So for instance, we just passed, today is Wednesday. So Monday, we passed the Fair Rent and Fair Housing Commissions. And all we did was we amended the ordinance to make sure that these commissions actually go into place. And that's important because we have different property owners, and we have we have such a toxic environment when it comes to raising rent prices and actually hurting our people just for a quick dollar. So the government's role is to actually find equity, and it's to actually find ways to make sure that the tenants are heard and make sure the landlords are working together with the tenants to make sure that it's a good partnership. A lot of times people are being taken advantage of. So the Fair Rent and Fair Housing Commission's role is to kind of strengthen that partnership and relationship and make sure that everyone's voices are heard and make sure that we have actual safe and ethical practices in the city. So our roles have a profound impact on the government, on the community, because even for the budget, for instance, we allocate money to education, and that affects our kids all citywide, and making sure that they have adequate resources to have good textbooks to learn and to build up for the future and whatever their future may hold. So our role is very critical in our local municipality because we have a direct and actually the most direct impact on our residents compared to the state and federal government.
Okay. And as a city council rep, do you find it difficult to have residents engaged in the things that's going on in your district and the city as a whole?
Absolutely. And the reality is, because we're not the President of the United States, people don't necessarily focus on our roles and our jobs unless it's like something big or major that's happening when it comes to something like, I don't know, the police department or something, right? So absolutely, and the reality of this situation is we have such a even bigger impact than the federal government or the state government because their resources come to us and we decide how it goes into the community. So I would love to see more participation, but the reality is people have full-time jobs, people have families, people have lives, and so they're not necessarily focused on the nitty-gritty of the stuff that we do. Because we meet almost every day, whether it's a full council meeting, committee meeting, or coming up with legislation and stuff like that. So as other families are living their lives and we're trying to do right by the people, it's kind of hard to keep them engaged.
As a city council rep, do you feel that there is a need for some type of special skill set to enable you to be an effective council rep?
Yeah, there's a lot of skill sets that's needed because it's not just being an elected official, but it's being a good elected official. So anybody can run, and if you have the right situation or enough money, there's a good chance that you can win, but that doesn't mean that you'll be effective. In my view, an effective elected official knows how to listen, communicate, and work with others even when you disagree, and the ability to stay focused because for instance, I've been working on this blight ordinance since December. So it's easy to get off a track. It's easy to just say, okay, it's not worth it. Let's scrap it. Let's do something else. So to be persistent, to be able to listen to others because everyone has a different perspective and everyone sees things differently. So finding commonality and understanding that we can agree to disagree.
So in life, a majority of the people focus on the victory. Do you think the most important part of running for any type of office is to get the win, and anything less than that is a failure?
No, because a lot of people who lost ends up winning later. So what's really important, honestly, is making connections and learning the people that you're trying to represent, because that's critical. Our community is so different, it's so complex. So the ability to connect, to learn, to feel someone, even when I was running, you can see that you can have a profound impact on someone, right? So it's really those relationships that you can build and those memories, because I was up 3 in the morning writing letters, doing research, studying, strategizing, whatever the case may be. So when I go out the next day, I'm prepared for whatever encounter that I may have. So I think that's the most important part. It's really the relationships that you build and the conversation and learning. Learning is big in the campaign because you don't know everything. And you don't know how people feel about specific things until you go up and you're willing to have that conversation. So I don't think necessarily that win is the most important because there's a chance to win in all levels at some point. There's plenty of people who lost. Joe Biden ran for president 3 times. Until he eventually got the job, right? So winning isn't everything.
So when I say the word vote, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Democracy. Voting is critical to maintain the democracy that we have, because at the end of the day, our government runs by the people. So if the people aren't stepping out to come and vote and making sure that their voices are heard, then what's the point of the government actually running and trying to function? So that's the democracy is very, very important, and especially critical during this juncture of national politics too, because as you can tell, there's an energy happening to kind of ruin the democracy that we've been practicing for so long. So everyone needs to vote. Everyone needs to feel that the voices are being heard and that the elected officials are then being held accountable. So democracy is the first thing that comes to mind for me.
Okay, so that's a perfect segue into my next question, which I think you kind of answered it a little bit, but I'm still going to pose the question to you. What do you say to the people in the community who feel they don't have a voice or their voice is being muted? Would you say to these individuals that their voice is the vote and you should use that voice come election time?
I think it's deeper than that, because what happens is you have people that will make promises during election season and not uphold that promise. And then if their term is 4 years, then you have to wait another 4 years to get them to act on it, or 2 years or whatever. And that's just too long. So it's not just voting, but it's participating. It's coming to the meetings. It's actually emailing your elected officials. It's actually making sure that you're present for the accountability measure. A lot of times people just think, okay, I'm gonna vote Democrat or I'm gonna vote Republican and that's it, not realizing that it's deeper than that, because you want elected officials to be held accountable. You don't want just Joe Schmo up there because he's a Democrat. You don't want just Joe Schmo up there because he's a Republican. You want to make sure that your actual issues are voiced and your elected officials actually finding solutions. So I think it's way deeper than just voting. It's an active participation throughout the whole cycle, because at the end of the day, people could just say whatever and do whatever, and then we're all strategists here. There's a way to say, oh, I didn't vote for that because of this, and there's a way to kind of get out of arguments. So just staying present and actually holding your officials accountable is very important.
Your political ambition, is that something that you got into as a student at Eastern Connecticut State? I see you served on several committees and organizations while attending Eastern. Was this the catalyst for you to want to serve your community?
I see you did your research. Impressive. So my ambition came honestly because I grew up in the church. And when you grow up in the church, you realize and you listen closely, you'll see that a lot of things that people are depending on the Lord for is something that the government did. So there's so many barriers that our government has created. There's so many struggles that people in elective office has created, to then we turn around, we're banking on the Lord to change some stuff. So originally I had wanted to be a pastor, but as I started to listen more and do my research, I was just like, oh, government is where it's at, because a lot of the stuff that I'm looking to do is really changing laws, changing stereotypes and stuff like that. So it really started in church, and then as I read about Dr. Martin Luther King and Barack Obama ran for office when I was in 7th grade and stuff like that, that's when it started to mold into more of that politics for me.
Now you represent the South End, downtown area, and certain parts of the Hollow. So let's talk about some of the things that's happened or is happening in these neighborhoods, and what can the residents look forward to in the near future?
There's a lot that comes with downtown, right? So I think in order to have a successful Bridgeport, we definitely have to have a successful downtown. Also, our South End needs to grow as well and make sure that we have a safe South End for our residents. I do have parts of the Hollow as well, so making sure that that community is safe as well. So there's some businesses now coming into town. There's a transition happening right now. So we're pushing for a market or a grocery store in the district, because technically we do not have one. And so my district is technically considered a food desert. So we're working on that slowly but surely. Stuff is happening. Also, UB is now making an even bigger presence in the South End. Myself and my council partner George Cruz, we're working on speed bumps and putting that in certain areas because we do have a lot of speeding and unsafe environments, especially in the South End. So there's a lot happening right now, and there's a lot that we're working on. It's not just development, but it's making sure that we have quality of life issues under wraps, because that's the main important thing. We don't want to just have residents, we want to have residents that's happy. We want to have people that's comfortable with their living space and living area. So there's a lot happening right now, and we're moving, myself and my council partner, we're moving to make sure that downtown is successful with businesses, with the economy and everything, but the Hollow and the South End are also great livable areas as well.
Okay, I have a hypothetical question for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you received a grant for $1 million to use for your district or anywhere in the city, any way you wanted to, what would you do with it and why?
Well, first I would pave every single street and sidewalk, because I think in order to make sure that our community is how our residents want it, they have to be comfortable. You can't just drive your nice car and then boom, hit a pothole and now you gotta pay for a new tire and all that stuff. So first of all, just getting our neighborhood in order when it comes to sidewalks, when it comes to road pavements and stuff like that. Then I will invest into making sure that we have a nice playground area for the downtown area. Because what happens is a lot of residents come to me and they're just like, hey, we're trying to build a family. We're a younger family and we're trying to build and we're trying to grow. But downtown isn't really family centric. So we can have a spot where we have a lot of businesses and making sure that, you know, we have Grill 2, we have Rum and Tequila, we have different places for people to vibe, especially in the weekend, but also have some family areas on the other side, some parks, not just a park, but, you know, playground area, stuff like that. So really building that side up. Also, Resilient Bridgeport has been a frustrating thing, so I will definitely invest in that to make sure that, you know, our flooding issues are in a better position, because that's a big frustration too. So I don't think $1 million is enough, but there's definitely a lot that can be done.
Okay. So where are some of your favorite places to spend time in the city?
The government center and City Hall, especially because I remember the first time I walked into both buildings, and now that I hold elected office, it's still amazing to me. And the fact that I have the ability to create ordinances and laws and really work with the elected officials and the governing structure to bring actual change to Bridgeport, it's still fascinating to me. So also, I'm a policy nerd too, so yeah, definitely the City Hall and the Government Center is where I like to spend most of my time. Then I'll have like a nice empanada or something, Rum and Tequila. But I really love the entire downtown area, and I try to eat and go out as much as possible. But also, my main thing where I spend the most of my time is actually getting the work done. So City Hall and the Government Center probably see me the most.
So what are your goals during your term as City Council rep? What are your ultimate goals?
Well, I mean, we've made great strides already. I mean, we passed the Empower City Council Act, which allowed the City Council to have its own staff and legal representation. We just passed the Fair Rent and Fair Housing Commissions. Hopefully, when I'm done, we'll have charter revision done. So I think a lot of the goals that I want is what we're acting on right now. Charter revision is important because that's basically the Constitution for Bridgeport. And the last true comprehensive change that the voters agreed to was in 1992. We're now in 2022, so there's a lot of things that's been different since 1992 and to now, especially with technology advance, and there's just a lot of things that we just need to get in order. So charter revision is the main thing on my agenda right now, but just overall making sure that we're still helping the community and making sure that we're creating a better relationship and partnership between the government and the community at the same time. But I think right now, my ultimate goals, we're hammering out slowly but surely. Goals and ambitions are nice, but the work is the most important thing. And you can also do that in smaller roles. You don't need to be a president of the United States to have an impact. You don't need to be a senator to be effective. So yeah, that's nice, but the main thing is to get the work done and make sure that the community is getting a good in return on it.
Now, how can the people in your district get in touch with you?
Oh, they all have my personal cell phone number. My city number is on the website. I'm on social media. If anyone is looking for me, I'm quite easy to find. You could just Google me, Facebook me, Instagram me. I'm all over. So I think people have no problems with finding me.
All right. Okay, I think that's about it. I guess we can wrap it up. But before we go, is there anything that you want to talk about that we didn't discuss?
No, I'll just say thank you for having me. This is a great opportunity to really speak to the community and really let people know that their involvement is important. So this is great. Feel free to reach out to me again anytime. I try to make myself as available as possible. So thank you for having me, and I look forward to a better and future relationship.
Well, thank you for being here. I know you're a busy person, so I'd like to say thank you for taking time out your busy schedule to be here with us. And I'm definitely going to want to sit down and talk to you again in the near future. And also, this is an open invite to fellow council people. You know, what better platform to come on to and tell the people who you are and what your goals are for them.
Yep.
So